Well, after this season of TV, I have absolutely nothing left over in the tank. I tell you that much. It took it all out of me. I'm drained.
It really is just one of the best things we've ever seen.
Where were you?
Parking lot.
We're still here.
We sure are.
So this is obviously our spoiler review of Season 1. You can check out our why you need to watch The Leftovers video here. Like right here, you can check that out. Please do that if you haven't seen the show, because we're going to spoil the shit out of it and talk about all the amazing things that happen in the show for those who have seen it. So The Leftovers is a HBO program that is based on the book by Tom Perrotta and developed by Damon Lindelof, who did Lost. For those of us who are watching it, who are probably people who aren't still sour about the ending of Lost, because, I mean, let's just forget about that. This show's an entirely new thing, and let's not get that out of your head, because obviously for those of us that have watched it and are still interested in it, this show is just pretty goddamn amazing.
It's absolutely fantastic. I don't even know where to start, because on every single level, this show just damn well delivers. And I suppose the concept is a really cool thing to start talking about, because it just spun me out. Hey, like, I mean, straight from that opening scene, it's one of the most heart-wrenching and horrible things you'll ever see.
One of the best hooks, I think.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of great TV show hooks. You think about, like, The Walking Dead, and then you've got Game of Thrones, you've got Breaking Bad, shows like that instantly got their claws in you. And this kind of just blew all those away for me. This instantly locked me in. I was like, this is the kind of show that I want to be watching and I need to be watching.
Especially within a few minutes as well, to like have a hook and to sell you on a television series within the first 5-10 minutes is incredible.
Considering they weren't even the characters that we ended up staying with for the rest of the show, like, yes, they did pop up here and there and we kept going back to that moment and seeing different parts of that, but considering our main cast of characters wasn't even there at the start, and we kind of knew that for anyone who'd seen the trailers when you started watching it, like, these aren't the main characters. That's incredible storytelling, and props to Peter Berg, who's the director, who's also known for doing the Lone Survivor, Deepwater Horizon,
Patriots Day.
So props to him for directing the shit out of those first 2 episodes, because he absolutely killed it.
Yeah.
I think the thing with the premise of this show that works so well is that we've done a lot of writing classes, we've actually written our own TV show, and the number one thing the first thing you have to kind of work with when writing a TV show is having a strong drive that keeps generating narrative. And this premise is the kind of thing which can just keep expanding outwards like that and keep going deeper into a character's psyche. So it's just a brilliant thing from that standpoint.
Yeah, and obviously it is based off the source material here, but we're not talking about that because we're not reading, we're not going to even go near it until we're finished with the series, because...
And as far as we know, it's probably going to follow a different path, like most source materials do these days.
Exactly, but it feels as though like both the writers here have really kind of like used it and just... They've grown everything from it and like really grown like the story from the characters, because the characters just shine on their own, and I've never seen a show that I've been able to connect with individual characters so quickly and like feel for them so quickly. It's insane.
Yeah, and granted that first episode did have an hour and 10 minutes to get us hooked, but like I was just instantly invested in these characters' stories. I was like, I need more of this. And let's just break it down like character by character almost. Obviously, Kevin Garvey, played by Justin Theroux. Like, we haven't seen much of this guy. We know he's kind of actually known for comedy writing. He wrote Tropic Thunder, which is kind of like bizarre.
Real?
Yeah, he actually wrote Tropic Thunder. And he's done a couple of other comedy ventures as well. And then this is just the perfect casting. Like, I just cannot imagine anyone else doing this and anyone else doing it anywhere near as well as he does.
He just delivers on every single level as well. I mean, like, he's got it all. He's just, I mean, like, he's a hard sell. He's a great looking guy, and he's also that badass sort of character.
And he's
kind of the good cop, bad cop, and he's constantly playing with his own, like, morality as well. And just his stakes in every single scene are through the roof.
Yeah,
so there's always something to play.
Balances tension so well. And I was just saying to Jay before that he's a character who's kind of an amalgamation of all of the stereotypes we see of like the hard knock anti-hero, but Justin Theroux kind of flips them, and obviously the writers as well flip it and just make him something completely new that I haven't quite seen before. He feels familiar, but he's entirely new.
It kind of feels as though Justin Theroux knows that's the type of character he is, and he's constantly trying to play Kevin against it.
Yeah.
So it just... always makes this awesome conflict within himself and with every character
What a
around him.
fantastic arc with him and his whole family. Obviously, Amy Brenneman delivering one of the greatest non-verbal performances we've seen at this stage. Like,
Just fantastic. When she finally starts to speak in episode 9 as well,
Oh.
you finally get her backstory, like, heartbreaking,
it just-
heart-wrenching. Like, it's just so good.
because the whole time, the whole season, all the way up until episode 9, you're like, I don't know why you're with the Guilty Remnant, which on their own, everyone in that group is just fantastic.
Yeah.
But I don't know why she's there. And when it finally gets revealed in episode 9, which is one of the most masterful episodes of emotional storytelling I've ever seen, it's just something transcendent. And the rest of the family as well.
Fantastic.
The rest of the family. Their kids, Tom, played by Chris Zilka, and Jill, played by Margaret Qualley, are just phenomenal. Like, from both of their first scenes, I was like, yes, 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 yes.
It's just so amazing, and I mean, like, especially their arcs as well, kind of their backward arcs, because you see them kind of where they are until episode 9, when you kind of see how they've transformed because of the event. And my god, like, Jill's character, it's like,
the
far out,
complete
you just feel
transformation
so much
from,
for it. It's
from like One
unbelievable.
Directioner, like teeny kind of screaming, and just it becoming this kind of like really morbid human being, and it making her feel completely earned. And obviously seeing, we're still not 100% sure at this stage after season 1 why Tommy went so off the rails, but it's such an interesting thing to follow, and he was really, really likable because he's a person in a bad situation trying to do the right thing.
And my god, Wayne, what a character.
What a character.
Like,
Hardly any scenes, and yet throughout the season, every little tidbit we got of him, I was like, this guy's presence is off the charts.
Unbelievable.
Stunning.
I've like never really seen this actor do too much, and I really do I hope that I can see him in more things, because his
So I can
presence
see
here,
what else he can do. 'cause
yeah, because his presence here is just off the charts. It's so good in every single scene.
Instantly, the first time you see him, you're like, this guy scares the shit out of me, but he intrigues me so much in the same way as like Breaking Bad's main villain, Gus Fring.
Yeah.
There's an instant thing with him where I was like, this guy is just fucking terrifying, and yet I just want to connect with him at the same time. And I mean, that's other characters like that. Anne Dowd, who plays Patty, that episode that was centric on her, episode 8, where she killed herself, like, that
Just kind of nuts, hey? I think like every single character is like helped and elevated by the concept, obviously, but it doesn't feel that.
A lot
and
of
it
them
doesn't feel
twist the premise themselves.
Yeah,
and that's why
exactly.
they split in such a diverse way. I mean, obviously, that amazing third episode focusing on Matt, played by Christopher Eccleston, was just... I'd heard great things about that episode, and I was like, I'm keen to see it. And then when I started watching, I was like, that is the most completely coherent, succinctly life-changing episode of TV I think I'd seen at that stage. I mean,
It's just crazy. I mean, to think that like the journey you go on with Matt in that episode,
just like
it's
50 minutes.
it's
like,
things.
oh.
Yeah, it honestly leaves you speechless. It's absolutely unbelievable, and it really does take your breath away. And that's the kind of the best thing
One of the
about this
greats.
show, that like I find is so often it just hits you by surprise, and you're like, oh, now we're doing this. Oh, now we're doing that. It's kind of like, oh, it just does what it wants.
But that's
when
why it feels
wants.
real. That's why
Yeah.
it feels completely organic, is because it just moves like real life. There's no characters don't really have any real control over what's happening, and they don't have full control over their emotions. And obviously, in that regard, Carrie Coon, who plays Nora, again phenomenal. Again, the episode that centered around her guest was absolutely fantastic. Also, Liv Tyler was also great.
Really, really just powerful
Everyone across the
women
board.
like in this show as well, like, which is kind of great. Like,
But
they
not
really
in
just
the same way we're used to seeing. You know, when you see a character and they're like, that's a powerful woman, but it's like Hermione Granger or like Katniss Everdeen from Hunger Games. It's like,
No,
well, this
it's
is
like
ultimate. This is real empowerment.
It sounds simple, but they really stand on their own 2 feet here,
Yeah.
and they can really support everything.
their
like
own choices.
every time someone throws something at them, they're kind of like, no, I'm going to give up. Liv Tyler's character, obviously, as well. I mean, like, her in the first episode, just kind of doing her own thing and saying, no, actually, I'm going to do what I want to do. You know, like, you just don't often see that, and just across the board,
searingly
hey.
intense and just wow.
And wow, let's just take a moment to appreciate the work of Max Richter here, because his work is off the Richter scale. We were introduced to him a little earlier on before
Couple of months
before
ago.
we started watching the show, yeah, with his compositions of Vivaldi's Four Seasons, and then obviously his work on Waltz with Bashir, which is
And then
incredible.
his little cameo in Arrival, which has just made that movie go to the next level.
And his work here is just phenomenal.
The best
like,
TV score I've ever heard. Like, it blows blows everything else I've seen. And we've watched a lot of TV lately. It blows everything else out of the water.
And obviously the work on like Westworld, I mean like the covers on Westworld were fantastic as well. But,
Yeah.
I mean like the covers here.
There was still a really pop culture type thing to it in shows like Westworld and other stuff like that, whereas this show really feels like a completely unique musical voice.
The episode 10 cover of Nothing Else Matters by Metallica just got me going. I was like,
Perfect.
yes, like
Perfect.
Every time like his score comes on screen, it just elevates a scene and creates an emotional depth that like is exactly what score should do.
Especially because this show doesn't necessarily have cliffhanger endings in the way that a lot of other shows do, where it kind of rises to a point and it cliffhangs. This quite often has like moments where it just focuses in on a character and completes their arc, and when his score rises up at the end of an episode, it's just a complete joy every time, and quite often it makes what is already a fantastic moment completely emotionally overwhelming.
And it usually works with your own thoughts as well. Usually when you're watching a show, you're
Yeah,
gonna be like,
it
oh my
stacks.
god,
You,
like
start
you
stressing.
you start going, oh, I think I know this is what's gonna happen next.
music's
And as
just
soon as
going
you
like
have that
this.
thought, it starts coming into play, and you're like,
Yeah, and you're like,
"Oh."
it's happening. And the amount of times that happens, and I think that's just a really, really effective way to basically end an episode, because it actually made me quite often go, you know what, I'm not going to dive straight into the next episode. I just want to sit and think about this for a while, and the music really aids you in getting there. Its actual choice of licensed tracks to use in this is completely effective once again, particularly towards the end of the season. And also, obviously, this isn't an overstated show visually. It doesn't have like a unique Mr. Robot type style because it focuses on being real. So again, great decision to bring Peter Berg in to direct those first 2 episodes and establish the style, because he has a really like homey kind of style. It just feels real.
Yeah, especially, I mean, in comparison to something like Transparent, which is kind of really, really raw and stripped back to make it feel real, this kind of just gets that little extra layer just so like it allows you to connect
so
with
casual.
it, but it's also like a different world that you're watching as well, but also the same, if that kind of makes sense.
And at the same time, the photography is still exceptional. It's really, really gorgeous to look at. And it's one of those shows where it kind of had me thinking about visuals a little bit differently. I was more focused on studying a person's face rather than these kind of big, bold compositions that we kind of see in shows like, I don't know, as we said, Westworld earlier, or Breaking Bad. It's just something that's really unique that kind of felt really special to me.
And everything is communicated really easily with visuals as well. Like if it's a flashback or something like that, quite often you instantly know.
Yeah, they
it's
have
a
like
flashback.
2-second flashbacks that happen real quick, and everything's communicated completely visually or with just sound. It completely tells the full
Yeah,
story.
or color or something like that. It's just obvious to the human eye.
Really excellent use of metaphor, and the themes I think are really easy to tap into, which is important these days where different people like get involved in shows in different ways. And I think even those that want to sit down and just watch this and not really delve into it in the same way that we do will be able to tap into all the themes and everything this show is saying, and hopefully it resonates with you guys as much as it does with us.
Yeah.
Because this is TV, we're not going to score the season overall, because otherwise that leads to like comparisons, and it doesn't really work like that. All you need to know is that this show is pretty much near perfect for us so far in its first season, and that's an incredible thing to pull off.
And we just cannot wait to see what happens in the next season as well, because we honestly just have no idea where on earth it could go, and that's the best thing where we're sitting right now.
It's completely amazing, and it's definitely the must-see show right now. I keep watching new shows and going, nope, this is must-see, this is must-see, this is must-see. But out of all of those shows I've watched kind of since Breaking Bad, basically, this is the one where I'd be like, fuck everything else, watch this.
So yeah, if you have, I mean, like, watch season 1, you've stopped there, I'd say get back on board and
We're
get
going
ready
straight
for
on
season
board.
2, because we cannot wait
We're
to go
diving
hit
into season 2. Our season 2 reviewer is going to be up real soon. This show is the real deal.
So that was our review of The Leftovers Season 1. We are frothing over this show right now, and if you are as well, let us know what your thoughts are in the comment section below.
And while you're down there, it's probably worth hitting our subscribe button to see our review of Season 2 and Season 3 when they come out.
And you can also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter at Breaking Bad. You can see us pretty much passing out after every
Every
single
episode, I was just going, oh!